Welcome back to another video. So Embark just dropped a massive new arcraiders blog post, and honestly this one might be one of the most important updates we've gotten since launch, because not only are they completely changing how arcraiders updates work moving forward, but they also basically confirmed a ton of things that were previously leaked in the data mine video I made a few weeks ago, including the frozentrail map. And honestly, after reading through this blog post, it's becoming pretty clear that arcraiders is heading toward a much bigger long-term vision than many of us originally expected. So in this video, we're going to break down the new update cadence, why Embark says monthly updates weren't working, what frozentrail actually is, the brand new trader system, progression changes, and why some of these previous leaks are suddenly looking very real, because there's a lot to unpack here. So first things first, Embark says they are officially moving away from monthly updates, and honestly I think most players saw this coming. When arcraiders launched, the plan was apparently to deliver updates every single month to keep the game fresh and constantly evolving, but according to Embark, that pace started causing problems. They specifically mentioned that monthly updates were limiting how impactful the updates could actually be, and if we're being honest, that makes sense. When a team is constantly rushing to hit monthly deadlines, you usually end up getting smaller content drops, temporary fixes, and updates that feel more incremental instead of transformative. Embark basically says they want arcraiders to evolve in much bigger ways than a monthly cycle allows. So moving forward, arcraiders will now receive 2 major updates per year. Now, before people panic, this does not mean the game is going dormant. Embark specifically says balance patches, bug fixes, live events, store rotations, and regular maintenance updates are still continuing as regularly planned. The difference is that the truly massive content expansions are now being developed over longer periods of time. And honestly, if that means we get updates with the scale of what they're teasing here, it might actually be the right move. Because then we get to the biggest announcement in the entire blog post, which is the frozentrail map. If that name sounds familiar, it's because it was literally part of the leak I covered a few weeks ago on my channel. Back then, we found strings referencing a new map called frozentrail, along with locations like Central Station, Factory, Radio Tower, Rail Yard, Observatory, and Village. And at the same time, obviously none of that was official, but now Embark has officially confirmed frozentrail as the next major update coming in October. So that leak is suddenly looking very real, and not just the map name either. A lot of things mentioned in that leak line up surprisingly well with what Embark is now teasing and confirming publicly. According to the blog post, frozentrail will include, quote, a sprawling new frontier, end quote, and they specifically call it the largest map in the game. That alone is huge and is very exciting, but what's interesting is how they describe it. They mentioned layer design, mysteries to uncover, exploration, and uncovering the origins of Ark itself. That sounds much more ambitious than just here's another map. This sounds like Embark wants frozentrail to push the narrative and world building of arcraiders forward in a major way. And honestly, this is where the game could become really interesting, because up until now, arcraiders has mostly focused on survival, extraction, loot, and progression. But this blog post heavily suggests that Embark wants to start expanding the actual lore and mystery behind Ark. They literally say, quote, what are Ark and where do they come from, end quote. That's a huge statement. And if frozentrail starts answering those questions, this could become the beginning of a much larger story arc for the game. But the map itself isn't the only thing coming. Embark also confirmed the new Ark enemies, new behaviors, new progression systems, new weapons, new items, new instruments, cosmetics, and a major skill tree update. Now, once again, the new instruments part is another thing that lines up with the leak video, because remember, the leaked strings mentioned banjos, harmonicas, accordions, bongos, tambourines, and a bunch of playable instruments that could attract Ark enemies. At the same time, it sounded kind of ridiculous, but now Embark is officially confirming those instruments and those different aspects that are coming to the game. So clearly, some of those leak strings were absolutely legitimate, and honestly, I kind of love that we're getting those weird personality-driven gadgets like this. It gives arcraiders a much more unique identity compared to other other extraction shooters that are usually ultra serious all the time. Now, one of the biggest focuses in this blog post is progression, and this is honestly something that the community has been talking about for a while. Embark directly acknowledges that many players have maxed out their Raider Den, hit the skill point ceiling, and are running out of meaningful long-term goals, which is a huge issue for extraction games because once progression stops mattering, players eventually stop feeling motivated to keep grinding and keep playing the game. So frozentrail sounds like it's introducing deeper progression, more customization, more long-term goals, and more ways to shape your Raider. And honestly, this might be one of the most important parts of the entire update. New maps are great, new enemies are cool, but progression systems are actually what keep players invested for months or years. And Embark specifically says that they want arcraiders to become something players continually return to long term. Now, there's also a pretty massive feature arriving before frozentrail, and that's the brand new trader launching next week. This honestly sounds like Embark's first real step toward fixing several late game problems players have been complaining about since the inception of the game. They specifically mentioned stash space issues, too many high value items, and players avoiding expedition because it's too punishing. So the new trader apparently locks at level 25 and comes from a nomadic tribe of surface dwellers. And this trader will allow players to exchange valuable items for unique rewards, cosmetics, rare items, stash upgrades, and something called the Expedition Vault. Now this sounds huge because the Expedition Vault allows you to carry up to 5 items across expedition runs, meaning you may finally be able to protect some of your favorite items or blueprints instead of risking everything every single time. That could massively reduce the frustration factor for players who avoid expedition because the punishment feels too severe. And honestly, this sounds very close to another thing mentioned in the leaks, which is player trading and expanded economy systems. Now, the blog doesn't fully confirm player-to-player trading yet, but it's becoming increasingly obvious that Embark is heavily focused on improving the game's economy and long-term item systems. Another really important part of this post is what Embark says about anti-cheat and fair play. They specifically mention that longer development cycle will allow them to invest more deeply into fair play, anti-cheat, progression balance, and economy balance. And honestly, this is probably one of the healthiest things they could prioritize right now because extraction shooters absolutely live or die based on trust in the game. If players don't feel their loot, progression, or deaths are fair, the entire gameplay loop starts breaking down. So hearing Embark openly acknowledge this even more compared to their previous update is honestly very reassuring. Now, toward the end of the blog post, Embark says something really interesting. They say their ambitions for arcraiders go, quote, far beyond what players have seen so far, end quote, and they talk about reclaiming the surface, evolving the world over time, shifting the paradigm players operate under, and making player actions feel impactful long term. That sounds way bigger than just seasonal content updates. It honestly sounds like Embark is trying to build a long-term evolving sci-fi world where the state of the Rust Belt changes over time, and if they can actually pull that off, arcraiders could become something really special once again. Now, obviously not everyone is going to be happy about updates slowing down to twice a year. Some players are definitely going to worry about content droughts, and that concern is very fair. But honestly, after seeing the scale of what they're teasing with frozentrail and some of their upcoming future plans, I'd personally rather wait longer for genuinely transformative updates than get tiny rushed updates every month, especially if this means better progression, bigger maps, also stronger narrative, more polished systems, and larger scale gameplay changes. And based on this blog post, that seems exactly what Embark is aiming for. But the biggest takeaway here, the leak video from a few weeks ago is suddenly looking way more credible. Frozentrail is confirmed, new instruments are confirmed, expanded progression is confirmed, and honestly, I would not be surprised if even more of those leaked systems eventually become real and come to fruition, especially things like dynamic map conditions, clan systems, larger arc events, and deeper economy mechanics, because the direction Embark is describing here lines up almost perfectly with those leaked files. And if that's true, arcraiders may still only be at the very beginning of what Embark actually wants this game to become. So what do you guys think? Are you okay with larger updates twice a year if it means bigger expansions like what's coming out in the frozentrail update? And after this blog post, do you think the rest of those leaks might actually be true? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more arcraiders news, leaks, breakdowns, and update coverage, make sure to like and subscribe, because over the next few months it looks like arcraiders is about to change in a very big way. But anyways, that's it from me, and I'll catch you guys in the next raid. Peace out.